Ja, nu er jeg så taget på skovtur med mit luxmeter og mit videokamera for at vise jer, hvordan det forholder sig i den danske bøgeskov.
Now Henrik is visiting a Danish beech forest to show us how the light is here. There's an enormous difference between looking up in the sky when we're on the beach and looking up in the beech forest where the leaves cut off most of the light.
Når man kigger op, så ser det sådan her ud. Og det tætte bladnet, det lukker for næsten alt lys, der er tilgængeligt i sådan en skov. Hvad betyder det så?
And what could that mean? Let's go measure some values in here.
I en skov som den her. Når nu vi går ind igennem skoven og prøver at finde de lyse og de mørke steder, så går jeg et sted hen nu, hvor der er
Henrik is going to find a place where there's a lot of shadow.
Lad os se her på det absolut mørkeste sted, jeg kan finde herinde i skoven.
The darkest spot in this wood would be here.
Omkring 470.
And the values are about 470 to 500 lux. And that is surprisingly low.
Og det er til det noget overraskende. Men når man så ser der, hvor solen skinner igennem, som for eksempel over ved det her træ, hvor der kommer rigtig kraftigt lys ned omkring træet op fra himlen, der må vi forvente at finde meget, meget kraftigere belysningsstyrker. Så vi går ind her, og på vej ind i solen finder vi belysningsstyrker op omkring 30.000 lux.
But in the sunspots we find values about 30,000 lux. And by just turning a bit, the lux falls to 600-700 lux. So there's a huge difference between sun and shadow. And there's no doubt about that the variation in lighting in here takes part in creating beauty and dynamic. The cover of leaves shuts out the great deal of the light.
Nu har jeg snart været rundt rigtig mange steder for at finde ud af, hvad de forskellige belysningsstyrker er de forskellige steder. Jeg har været ved stranden,
Now Henrik has been different places to explore the different illumination levels. He's been at the beach and he's been in a beech forest. But he would like to find the darkest place by daylight, and that might be in a fir forest.
Nu har jeg taget luxmeteret med ind i det mørkeste sted, jeg overhovedet kunne komme på i den danske natur.
Henrik has taken the lux meter into the darkest place he could think of, and that would be the fir forest. There's very little light in here, just about 200 lux.
Så er vi her på omkring lige knap 200 lux.
So in here it's pitch dark. It tells us that our site is adapted to be out in nature, from the 100,000 lux on the beach to the 200 lux in the fir forest in the middle of the day.
Til de 200 lux, jeg er omgivet af her, midt på dagen, inde i en dansk granskov. Nu er klokken 6 om morgenen.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning and there's a full moon. The light from the full moon is the faintest light humans can see and function in. When Henrik places the lux meter on the terrace, we get a measurement on 0.2 lux. It is the lowest limit where our site can function.
Det er samtidig den nederste grænse for, hvornår vores syn fungerer. Nu har vi kigget lidt på hastighed, vi har kigget lidt på temperatur.
Now we have explored speed, we have explored temperature and time. If we're going to compare that to illumination levels, then we might get a better idea of what dimensions we're talking about. When we talked about speed, it was from 0 to 180 kilometers an hour, with a typical average of 110 kilometers an hour. Compared to time, we talk about 0 and 12 and 24 hours, and then we have defined the full calendar day. As regards to temperature, we talk about values from minus 20 to plus 40 degrees, with a work range between 21 and 23, where it's comfortable.
Når vi kigger på belysninger, så starter vi på.
When we look at lighting, we begin at 0.2 lux, which was the light from the full moon, and end with 100,000 lux, which is the light from the sun on a clear day on the beach.
Når vi nu skal prøve at se på de her størrelsesordner, så når vi taler om belysning indendørs, så arbejder vi.
Now we're going to look at the scales, and when we're talking about indoor lighting, we work with values between 50 and 500 lux. If we compare this to the other scales, we'll see that 100 lux corresponds to 1 minute and 30 seconds, and 0.06 degrees and 0.2 kilometers an hour. This is to explain that there's a big difference when we talk proportions in speed, temperature, heat, and lighting. When we have a whole calendar day, it is rare that we talk about an accuracy of 1 minute and 30 seconds. For example, we do not arrange a meeting at 10:01:30. That would give no meaning. Normally we work with intervals of 5 or 10 minutes. Likewise, we do not answer the question, is it hot outside today, with, yes, it's 21.06 degrees. We do not work that way. And again, we do not state our velocity in decimals. We do not drive 140.4 kilometers an hour. The problem is that people who doesn't know much about lighting often talk about lux levels in the same way with the same accuracy. They talk about 98 or 212 lux, and when it is really bad, they say 212.7 lux. We have to talk about illumination levels in the proportions to the other scales we have worked with.
Belysningsstyrke for eksempel noget, der går fra 25, 50.
Illumination levels is for instance from 25/50, 100, 150, 200, 500 to 1000 lux. It makes no sense to talk about 512 lux. First and foremost, you cannot see it, and you cannot work with that kind of accuracies. That would be equally ridiculous to state speed limits on a traffic sign with 1 decimal, or talk about beginning the meeting at 22:12:02.
Med belysningsstyrker, jamen der arbejder man med et meget stort område, og det giver ingen mening.
We hope this gives you a professional approach to say that with illumination levels we work with a very large area, and it gives no sense to talk about decimals or with too much accuracy. So stay sharp and professional, and mention illumination levels with intervals of no more than 5 or 10.